Welcome, and thank you for joining me on the second segment. Sorry. Um, it, I had mentioned before in the first one about I was going to talk about some of the tools that I use for my emotions. I have a lot of other tools that we're going to be using, but this show is about our, our emotions, um, how we think, how to change our thinking. So I want to be able to bring that to you and show you some of the things that I use for that. Um, I have my positive book that I use. This idea actually originated from Miriam Adahan, Dr. Miriam Adahan. Um, I started off using her information probably about 10 years ago. I used her Emet book. And then I've bought a few books from her, and right now I'm going through another one of her books. Another book that I'm reading is from Steve Harvey, and that's Act Like a Success, Think Like a Success. And of course, I have scripture. And I just want to, as I'm talking about these things, I want to let you know that I'm not here to make you think a certain way. These are the tools that I use. I would hope you would take them into consideration and just to think about it. You know, I'm not here to make anybody believe or think anything. But I'm just showing you what I'm using and what helps me. And if it helps you, great. If it doesn't, find something that is useful where you can encourage yourself and reach out to others. So I first want to start off with a scripture that is really dear to my heart. From Psalms 139, and I actually really like the whole entire psalm itself, but it shows me how loved and how precious I am to God in His sight. And it's Psalms 139:13. For you formed my inward parts. You wove me in my mother's womb. I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret. So this one is very, I believe that all of the books of Psalm, all of the whole book of Psalms is very nourishing to the soul. So I do read the Psalms quite a bit. So I'm going to continue on. I have a visual that I would like to show you. And this is about things that we carry. We tend to carry a lot of baggage with us. We have our past, our present, and our future. To me, in my opinion, and this is solely my opinion, when I think about my future, I think about the things that are going on in the present right now. There are goals that I have, my weight loss, wanting to be married, or being single, whatever God has for me. I have goals in my career. I don't want to have 3 jobs for the rest of my life. I do have a goal. I have a vision of what I want to do. So there are things in my present that I can do to get me to my future. I don't worry that much about my future. So I really don't have a lot of emotional things that go on with my future. Now our present, past, and future are all linked together. my present right now, I'm trying to get rid of and be able to forgive things from my past. And I have to work on that currently, right now, in the present. And in my past could be a couple hours ago. It could have been 5 minutes ago, a couple of days ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And this is where there's hurt, there's pain that goes on in life. And so, to me, these are things that I need to overcome. This is a huge bag. This is a huge, huge burden. And this is a lot of my weight, a lot of, it keeps me in one spot. And so I'm working on overcoming these things. So with this, I think that I'm working on those continuously to overcome things. I do want to share some things with you. Steve Harvey's book, Act Like a Success, Think Like a Success, if you could show that, please, that would be great. In his book, it talks about making a vision board, having goals, making a vision board. So on there, I have the complete goal of weight that I want to lose. But I've also written down some smaller goals, like wanting to lose 60, 75 pounds by June. But it also has some encouraging things on there for me. Some of those encouraging things are you can't love yourself, or you can't love others unless you love yourself first. Another one is I struggle a lot for being a perfectionist and thinking that I fail a lot, or that I am a failure. So I have on there, failure is a detour. It's not a dead end street. And if you look at life, and this is something that I learned by many people, but it came real to me when I was doing some of the Miriam Adahan, Her I Met book. We make mistakes in life. People make mistakes. And you have to make a learning lesson. Make it something that you can learn from. That is something I learned about 10 years ago. It's not always easy to learn. But if you can look in your life and realize that you can make two things. You can either look at it and say it was a mistake. Yeah, you failed at something, but build on it. Don't let it just sit there. Don't live in dread. Regrets, I think regrets, a simple term that I use is a regret haunts you. It's something that, oh, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. Well, I'm sorry, I can't live in the past. I have too many things that I want to do in life. I can't stay there. I know it's not good for me. It's not healthy for me to do that. Emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, it's not good for me. So, another thing is that I really like this quote. And the quotes that are on there, I got a lot of them from the internet, and so I'm sorry if I don't have all of the people who put them on there. I know some are from Zig Ziglar, which I also like a lot of the quotes that he has. One that I have is, you will be a lousy anybody, but you are the best you in existence. And that reminds me of, don't try to be anybody else. God created me the way that I am, and be okay with that. Just be okay with who you are. And another thing is another one that I have up there, is put all excuses aside and remember this. You are capable. When you think you can't do it, stop, take a breath, go on. And I really liked this one. I thought it was a little humorous. But confidence. Confidence is going after Moby Dick and a rowboat and taking the tartar sauce with you. I mean, that's confidence. I mean, come on. I have pictures on there of certain people that how I want my body to look like. One is exercise. I've got the crim on there that I would like to be able to do. That's another goal that I have, to be able to do the crim. And I've got a particular person on there, Kim Gravel. She's just, I love her to pieces. She's a Southern woman that just tells it like it is. And she just exudes confidence. And I think that's something her and I are have commonality with, for the most part. Okay, so in Steve Harvey's book, I haven't gotten, I think I'm in the 3rd chapter, but something in there that I really liked that I did is he talks about excuses and your expectations. So as you go through this section, he talks about writing down the excuses, your 3 top excuses. What are your 3 biggest excuses why you won't do anything? And then he goes through and he has you write down 3 expectations that you want, that you have. And then he has you write those down. And then in the end, he tells you to take your top 3 expectations and write them down and sign it. So I have some expectations that I've written down and I've signed it here. It says, let me back up just for a second. For the excuses, I wrote down about, I need to be healthy, or I should be, I can't remember the rest of them. I'm sorry, I didn't bring them with me. But I did write down the ones that I need to have. So I have my new expectations. Instead of saying, I had written new expectations down and I had to rewrite them because I noticed when I wrote them, I was using the word I need to or I want to instead of I will do this. And I think that the word I will gives a determination that it pushes you to do it. So my 3 top expectations that I have is I will be healthy. I will help others. And I will love myself and be happy. And like I said, I have that signed. Something I want to read out of Miriam Adahan's book is on volume 2, It's All a Gift. It says on page 259 on the bottom, it says, God created each of us in his image with infinite value. He gave each of us the precise talents, personality, parents, and physical circumstances needed to fulfill our special mission. My spiritual work is to love others and myself as God loves me, as I am with my imperfections. So that is, to me, is very important. And I do want to say something about our past. I remember growing up, and as growing up, I would get angry with my parents and be like, I hate you! And I think everybody goes through that phase. And I think as you grow and mature, you go into this phase of, I've been to a point to where it's like, as an adult and saying, I wish my parents would have taught me how to finance, be better with money. I wish my mom would have taught me how to cook better instead of pushing me out of the kitchen. I wish my dad was around a little bit more, and we had a better relationship. These are things that went on in my past that I look at my parents. I'm an adult, and I can't blame my parents for their lack. Something that I learned in this book with Miriam Adaham, not this book, but one of her other books. You'll notice with her books that there's a theme. If you ever want to get her books, please, by all means, check her out. She has a theme of the same thing runs throughout, and it's about renewing your mind, whatever insecure thoughts you have, write them down, write out what your insecure thoughts are, and write it down, acknowledge it, and then go on. Think of something positive, think of something that encouraging for you, because it's good to write down those fears, what you're insecure about, because you have to validate them, saying, okay, they're here. This is why I feel so insecure, and just like I was saying, I could sit and blame my parents for what they didn't teach me, but I've also learned as an adult that my parents did the best they could with what they had. I can't blame them any more than myself, because I am an adult and I have to take responsibility for myself. So what do I do as an adult? I take a budgeting class and learn how to budget my money. What do I do? Because, I'm not the best cook in the world. I'm not the worst cook. But, I have some things to do to make it a little bit better. What do? Learn from somebody. Or check it out on the internet. When it comes to baggage, for me, a lot of my baggage it has to do with pain in the past, and it has to do with my parents, and some of that was just a few years ago. But I always have to remind myself that they're human, and that I have to not take it personally. What goes on with them is what goes on with them. We are all individuals. So, because there's pain in the past, everybody's got pain in the past. I want to give you a definition of forgiveness that I had struggled a few years ago about what forgiveness was and why I couldn't forgive somebody, a family member. And I went to a friend of mine, and she told me, she made it very simple for me, which is great. Just forgiveness is acknowledging what happened and letting it go. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it. It doesn't mean that you're okay with it, because I thought if I had to forgive somebody, I had to accept what they did. If they did something bad that I didn't agree with, I had to be okay with that. I had to accept it and agree with it. And that's not what it means. It means, you know what, okay, this situation happened. I'm acknowledging that it happened. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But it is what it is. I can't do anything about it. I have to allow myself to go through the emotions. I write the emotions down. It's really good to have a journal, to have a positive book, something to write it down. There's actually neurologically, when you write things down, it actually will stay in your brain. So you end up forming dendrites within your brain. So anyways, that is not my purpose talking about this right now, but I have to learn how to forgive. I had a conversation with my mom a couple years ago. Her and I love my mom. She's one of my best friends. She really is. And I may physically look like her a lot, although she's shorter than I am. We are very different in personality. And I explained to her one time, I said, you know, Mom, I said, she was talking to me about a family member, and I said, I don't want to hear it. That's between you and that person, and it's not between me. And I said, you need to realize I have emotions. I said, you are like a light switch. Your emotions go on and off. You get the emotion, and it comes right off. And then that's how you deal with it. I said, with me, I said, I'm like a dimmer switch. That light is on, and I have to slowly turn that down. And once I have it and that is off, I'm fine. But it takes me a longer time I have to go, if you will, I have to go through a system. I can't just turn it off and that's it. There's a cycle I have to go through. And for me, I think that the cycle that I go through, that I think a lot of people go through, and some people go through it a lot quicker than others. There are stages that people get stuck on, are the stages of grief. I think that a lot of things that you go through in life, there is some sort of stage of grief. It doesn't matter if it's big, if it's little. You need to understand that something that is traumatic in one person's life that seems traumatic to them may not be traumatic to somebody else. Just like my mom and I, where one thing is more of a big deal to me than it is to her, vice versa. But I try to look at the stages of grief and make sure that I'm going through those stages and I'm not getting stuck in one stage, because a lot of people will get stuck in one stage and not go on. So that is something that I'm always trying to do. The 5 stages of grief, you can always look those up online. I got these out of the It's a Gift book, and she's got in there stage 1, shock and denial and disbelief. Stage 2 is yearning, wanting the attachment there, the person to be there, whatever you lost, you still want to keep that. Stage 3 is anger, stage 4 is depression, and stage 5 is recognition and acceptance. Now those 5 steps will change. I believe that the only one that stays the same is stage 5, because it's the end result of the stage. But some of them can last very short, some of them can last very long, and you could be angry first, and then you could get depressed. I know something traumatic that happened in our family a few years ago. I hit the shock. I wasn't surprised by it, but I was a little bit shocked because I wanted to give that person the benefit of the doubt. The yearning, I was wishing everything was okay, that it didn't happen. And then I became extremely angry. And then I went into a very deep depression. I came out of the depression. I mean, I'm talking like very bad depression. I didn't want to get out of bed depression. Anger, I'm still working on the anger. I've gotten much better with my anger in this situation. And that only will come up when there are certain buttons that get pushed, and that's when that comes up. But for the most part, I look at the situation and say, you know what? I've gotten to the point to where I can have forgiveness, where I know I wasn't involved in the situation, I had no control over the situation. The person that did that, why they did it, I don't know. It was a stupid decision and the worst decision they could ever make. But that's what they did. And if they don't want to take responsibility for it, that's not on me. That's their decision. That's their responsibility. I am not responsible. Through this, I've learned that I can love certain family members, but I can love them from a distance. They don't need to be in my life every day. I don't have to have communication with them every day, but I still love them. I just know that because of the pain that's gone on in my life, there's a cycle that goes on, and I end up getting hurt. And sometimes you do have to protect yourself. You know that if something harmful is coming along, you know you have to take a step back and put a boundary up. Boundaries are so important. I've learned that's another book that I don't have it with me, but another book to read is about boundaries. I've had to set boundaries with my mom. I've had to set boundaries with friends, and even with myself. So there's a book, it is called Boundaries. I can't think of who the author is, but that's another good book to read. I want to go now into a little more detail of the brain and how the brain works, and how to overcome, some of the things that I write down are insecure thoughts. So if you could show that really quick. This is our brain, and this is coming from Miriam Adahan, Dr. Miriam Adahan, and her, her lessons. She did a webinar on addictive behaviors, which I have noticed that I have an addictive behavior. I eat a lot. I eat more than what I should. I eat with my emotions. So that's what the whole entire webinar is. If you ever get a chance to do her webinar, go ahead and do it. But there are two things that she talks about. She talks about the cerebellum, which is the red part in the brain. That is our pleasure brain. That is the part that I want. I want this, I want this, I want this, I deserve this, I want this. And sometimes you can say that you need this, but it's not a need, it's a want. And then you go into the frontal lobe, which is the purple part, and that's more of your logical brain. Your cerebellum, which is in the back, which is the red one, that is where fear and pleasure, response, more of your emotions are. Your frontal lobe is more of your logical part of your brain. And the purpose of doing this is to get your pleasure brain, the cerebellum, to stop acting like a little kid and saying, oh, I need this now. Oh, I want this now. I have to have this. Da-da-da-da-da. And using the front of your brain where you can use much more control in your logic of that's a want and not a need. A need is I need to eat, but a want is I want to eat a hamburger. I want to eat some fries and have a shake. And a need is I need to eat healthy. I need to eat the fruits and vegetables because my body needs it. And then when you go into some of her Met books talking about emotions, and the insecurity thoughts extrapolating into the future. I really tend to do that, and that causes me to be anxious, and so I'm working on not being anxious. And another thing that I'm really, really working on, especially every day when I wake up in the morning, is being thankful. You know, saying, Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you that I woke up, that I'm alive. And if you can, every day, and this is something I do, I think of 3 things to be thankful for. 3 different things, not 3 of the same things every single day, because, hello, that's boring. I have silly ones, but they're practical. And it may sound gross, but Lord, thank you that I can go number 2 in the potty. You know, some people have issues with that. There's little kids that I see that have issues with that. There's adults that have issues with that. You have the elderly people that don't have very good function of their bowel movements. So I'm thankful for that I have that. And I know that sounds so silly, but it's something to be thankful for. I'm thankful that I can breathe, that I'm alive, that I can walk, I can hear, that I can see. Yes, I have to wear contacts and glasses, but I can still see. I'm not blind. Just little things like that. You can be thankful that you didn't stub your toe. Just find something to be thankful. Your attitude will change in the very beginning of the day, and I do it when I'm still in bed. I just set up, I wake up, and I think of at least 3 things, if not more, just to be thankful for, so that I start my day off like that. And when it comes to insecure thoughts, like I said, write them down. Write down, I'm trying to find some here that I've got. I have other notes in here besides just that. Let's see. Yeah, if I can find them. Oh my goodness. I have them here somewhere. Oh, here we go. Okay. Insecure thoughts sometimes can be, you can feel overwhelmed. It's just, I mean, and you're insecure. It's pretty, hopefully I don't have to explain it. It's pretty common sense. I have insecurities about my job, about if I don't do good enough, I may get fired. If I don't learn things quick enough, they're going to let me go. Those are some of the insecurities that I have at work that go through my mind. But I think that is going to be enough for the day. And I would thank you for joining me. Next time, we're going to talk a little bit more about some wordage, some definitions, and some cooking. And so stay tuned. Have a good day.